In today's video, I'm going to give you my opinion on why young adults aren't really ready to have serious and committed relationships most of the time. I know there's so much controversy around this topic, but just listen up and don't get mad if you are in a relationship, because I'm not here to say break up and be alone. What I am going to do is discuss a lot of pros and cons regarding this topic. And at the end of the video, you can decide whether you want to be in a relationship or not. So let's start off with self-love. A lot of young people, let's say if they are in their 17, 18, 19s, and 20s, aren't okay being alone and don't know how to have fun by themselves. They just don't have or lack self-love. Now, this often leads to them pretty much trying to fill that empty space with the person. I am going to start off with the positive side on what a relationship can give you, which I am sure a lot of you can relate if you have been in a relationship, whether it went well or not. You learn something like myself, which I was in almost a 5-year relationship which ended. And the biggest benefit and takeaway is you gain experience. Now, I know a relationship can make you very happy and that happiness will last you throughout the whole relationship or even less, but sometimes relationships can be very toxic, whether it's because of you or the other person, maybe even both people in some cases. Often that's where things go wrong, and for a lot of young relationships that are toxic, it's because we lack experience. Yes, I know not everyone is toxic and I know they can get out of that stage, but a lot of times maybe in the beginning we start a relationship out of impulse. That impulse will then be followed by self-gratification. Starting a relationship will give you self-gratification, which will for sure give you that feeling that you like them right there at the moment, but aren't 100% sure if you love them. You want to be with them and want to give yourself a chance to get to know them. Yes, trust me, I know that being in love feeling is amazing. Sometimes you feel like you're in the clouds, and the instant self-gratification that backs it up as well is just great. But once that relationship ends, so does the self-gratification, and the aftermath after a relationship isn't so nice, especially if the relationship with the person you were with was very serious. Everything good ends right there. Now, following that up, there are two types of people that exist after a breakup. Number one, the people that start another relationship right away, and number two, that people that don't. I am going to address this to the people that start a relationship right away, and what I want is for you to truly ask yourself these next questions. What do I truly look for in people, and why don't you like being alone? And maybe now that you hear these questions, you might be telling yourself, yes, I can be alone, and I know I can do a lot of things by myself, and I don't need a partner. Okay, then try it out. Try to be alone for a while. See how you really feel and how much you enjoy being by yourself. Because starting another relationship right away and then doing it again and again just doesn't make any sense at all. That's where main problems start to come in. The first one, you lose a lot of time. Yes, you will lose a lot of time in relationships. Now, you consider and acknowledge the time you invest in a relationship, if it's good or bad, because only you will know what you gain and obtain in return from it. But in a lot of cases, the time invested in a relationship just goes to waste. You will often spend a lot of hours either just texting throughout the whole day or even seeing each other a bit too much. Girls are usually the ones that enjoy this the most because they love your attention. And no, I'm not saying this to make you feel like a bad person, because that's just how you are. However, if you are a guy, you need to have your own time. And I know, like myself, when we are in a relationship, we might say that yes, we have full control and you have no issue with this. But the reality is that it's not true. Sometimes we just don't want to admit or acknowledge that our time is not being invested properly. We often neglect ourselves a lot and put our relationship all the way up there. And to have your relationship up there isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can become a bad thing once it does become your number one priority. And it's maybe the only thing you think about, and you get traumatized with that one person. Then you can start worrying. It's very common, and it's the problem I see a lot of people having, because those two factors there are the ones that overall just take your time. Once you start becoming a teenager and a young adult between the ages of 15 to the end of your 20s, you have a lot of time. And trust me, a lot of people spend their time throughout their whole 20s just looking for a partner. Spending time trying to fill up an empty space. That time can be invested into other things, because those are our impulses as a young adult. It's up to you to hold off, because I know it's not easy at all. A person you might like and find attractive shows up, it will be hard to resist. Now, the other points that I'll be talking about will be your standards. Don't ever lower your standards to be in a relationship with anybody. Sometimes you might drop your standards and values, then you might find yourself being in a relationship which just wasn't what you expected. I will now talk from my personal experience. I know my standards can be pretty high for a woman my age and even the beginning of her 20s, and it's because I'm very selective. Now, since they are high standards, that doesn't mean that I will meet her right now, because it's probably that at this very moment, if it arrives, I might not be able to meet her standards. That's just how this works. We can't demand for all this stuff and not give back in return. I know that one day when I form my family, I want to make sure that my partner is a great mother figure, because both mother and father are the fundamental base of a family. If right off the bat that relationship isn't healthy and there are a lot of problems, our kids will suffer so much. That's why you have to start thinking more towards the future. Right now, if you're like me and are in your 20s, you have a lot of time. But I guarantee you that that time passes by really fast. And if we wasted being in a relationship after another, we aren't going to be good enough for the partner we want. Because believe it or not, we attract who we are. If your partner at this very moment isn't happy with themselves, you probably aren't going to be either. Normally, people who are on another level attract people who are on their level. Yes, I know that it might not sound the best, and I don't want to separate people by levels, but let's just put it like that for now. We are never going to see a person who you know has good habits, is mentally strong, likes to take care of their body, loves to learn, with a person who is just the complete opposite and has bad habits, doesn't take care of their body and mental health, just because of their bad decisions. Now, you will never see a couple like this because the person who is bad will never be able to meet the standards of the person who is good. That is why if your standards are high and up here, you have to work to be the best partner that the person you love has. If you're young and is probably questioning, should I have a relationship right now? Well, I'll leave that up to you, and let me know in the comments down below what do you think, and if you also agree or disagree. Also, give me your why, because the why is very important. And if you are in a relationship right now and is someone who is young at this very moment, have it. I'm not saying to break up and be alone, but what I am telling you is that you will gain experience and you will learn if the relationship was worth your time and a good decision. Because everything is based on good or bad decisions. This is about not wasting your time and making poor decisions. Because if all relationships that you have been have gone downhill, the common factor for those relationships that never worked out is probably you. Now, with that being said, please subscribe and like this video if you want to see more content like this in the future.